Hi, my name is Puneet. I will be your SAS trainer for this session, and this session is powered by Tulip Technologies, Noida. So, what exactly is SAS? SAS means Statistical Analytics of Systems. That means we use statistical models which are including linear regression, multivariate lineation, bivariate analysis, and many other form of analysis onto the analytical platforms which are read by the systems, right? So the prerequisites to start off with SAS is basics of SQL. At this point of time, while viewing this video, if you are not aware of SQL, it does not make a big difference at it, as it hardly takes 3 to 4 hours to understand the basics of SQL which is required to run this whole platform, right? So let's start off with the contents. So the first point is target audience. So our target audience is for the generic masses to help out solving certain set of problems. Let's say healthcare is an example. That's an industry which we can cater. We need to find out the number of people who are suffering from chronic and acute diseases. Let's put it in this way for Delhi NCR. And I get data of like people. Let's say I have their name, age, the last medicine which they were taking, maybe that is of acute or chronic disease, and so on. SAS helps us in crunching that raw data into a normalized form and then give us data driven solutions from it for our business needs, right? So let's start off with the basics of everything. That starts with the history of SAS, right? So this is the target audience thing which you can have. People can get SAS certified, and those who are planning to move ahead in SAS, they can understand it. But I believe that learning is more important than anything else at this point of time, because the starting package of any SAS developer starts from 7.5 lakhs and it goes up to 10 lakhs per annum, right? Now what comes to SAS history. SAS was developed by Jim Goodnight and John Scholl in 1970, and it was initially developed for the agriculture research purpose, so that they could derive what kind of cultivation should be done in the United States, right? Later on it got evolved, and in way back in 2002 till 2011, out of 98 companies out of 100 Fortune 500 companies are using SAS. Right. So now that's a big question. What can SAS do? SAS can do almost anything which is related to statistics and proc SQL. Now there's a big difference between a normal SQL code and a proc SQL code. In normal SQL, you write select star from table underscore name, whatever is the table name you are having. In proc SQL, your SQL starts with proc space SQL. That's how we start off. Now, how do we handle these things and SAS, and how is it different from other platforms? Like, so we have three other platforms over here. One is Excel. In Excel, we can do data science, that is regression and other stuffs, and we have R and Python. Post SAS, we have Hadoop, big data, and machine learning and artificial intelligence. But we can see over here that SAS is the centric point of everything, right? In Excel, the limitation is that we can hold up to 1 million data points. After that, Excel starts disrupting and does not respond properly. Maybe in Windows system it shows not responding, but in Mac and Linux it completely shuts down. Inside Excel only, we have another tool on the right top corner, which is data analysis. That is exactly what data science is all about. It gives you relation between your dependent and the independent variables and tells you that your hypothesis is correct or not. And after the limitation of Excel, R was developed, and it is based on Python. Python is an open source language, and it has been used extensively in the Western market. But in Indian market, there are only few jobs and few people who are working on Python. The biggest company which is hiring for Python is Google in North India, and in South India there are other companies which are using Python developers for the embedding of the hardware processes. As R is integrated with Python, so we can derive certain set of data driven solutions from it. Now the big point, why SAS again? Because R has a limitation of holding up to 10 million data points, and we can simply calculate that 10 million data points is very less with respect to the population on this planet. The population on this planet is approximately 6 billion. So that means Excel is 1 million, stands nowhere. Data science, exactly correlation. R and Python. If I calculate with 6 billion population, that means I need to have at least 60,000 odd R files so that I could accumulate it into one segment and individually do my analysis performance on it, or maybe my test hypothesis on it. To solve this big problem, SAS was developed. SAS can hold up to 1 trillion data points. Or, in a more simplified way, I can say that people, let's put it in this way, that everybody on this planet is having 10 email IDs. That comes out to be 60 billion email IDs. I still have at least somewhere about 12 to 13 times more data space I can capture in SAS. Post SAS, we have Hadoop, big data, and machine learning. In Hadoop and big data and machine learning, we have big structures, we have hive structures, which crunch the raw data into normalized form again and give us the data driven solutions. Right now, let's come back to the main slide where we were on. Right, as it is mentioned over here on the third point, SAS is a powerful data handling language. Right, because as it supports SQL, that's why we consider it as language. Right. Plus, in the data mining and data cleansing process, we can use SAS. And the biggest and the most amazing part of SAS is that it supports files of Excel and R. That means maybe in any format. Let's put it in this way: for HTML, PDF, RTF, .R, .xls, .csv, any other format which is available in the market, which is open for like any reasoning output for mathematical and statistical ways, it is also acceptable. Even the .text files are also open and supported by SAS. So SAS plays a very varied role in almost all the industries. Let's put it in this way for you, like healthcare industry, clinical data integration, drug development, sales and marketing in each and every field, financial services, retail, telecom, all these fields are very open to SAS. Even Dalal Street, that's the Bombay Stock Exchange, has SAS as a software with them. Right, not SaaS, but SAS as a software integrated into the system to hold billions of data points which are fluctuating on volumetric basis on daily interventions. Right, the different industries which can SaaS be used are statistical analytics, analysis, clinical research, for reporting, forecasting. Statistical and clinical are one of the same things in any industry, maybe automobile, maybe financials, maybe telecom, maybe retail, or maybe healthcare. For reporting, obviously every senior manager or manager needs a report in the company that what exactly is happening in the current situation of the market and how exactly is the market behavior towards their product or maybe towards this service. Right, forecasting to derive futuristic results from the historical data points which the company has gathered. Data mining is for processing raw data into normalized form. Predictive modeling, as I mentioned, it supports data analytics and analysis and system and business analysis. For financial research, as I mentioned earlier, we have Dalal Street as the biggest example for doing financial research. We have McGraw Financials, S&P Capital IQ, and many other financial firms. For market analysis, people sitting in Indore, Mumbai as stockbrokers, they do market analysis, and few of them have SAS as a software. And for customer management, to provide the best customer service to any particular customer of any industry, we use SAS, which helps us in giving the exact demographic need of that particular customer. Right. So the market share of SaaS is pretty big. 98 out of 100 of Fortune 500 companies are using SaaS. That is more than 90%. They use this software for their informed decision and accuracy maintenance purpose, right? Because everybody wants growth and they want to grow up, and that requires SaaS developers on a very very prioritized scale, and that too in the Indian market for getting work done. Right. And the next part which comes is that what is the difference between SAS and R, which tool should I learn? As all of them are equally important, but I would rather prefer that SAS is one of the most important tools if you want to get into the data science line. That is the second step of second step of growth for you right now. Right, so I'll tell you a small difference between SAS and R in terms of monetary and the basics of knowledge purpose. So as I mentioned earlier, SAS is very easy to learn and you just need SQL. R is little bit complex, and the prerequisite which I strongly recommend for anybody to go for R is for Python. You must be well versed with Python to start off with R, as Python is an open source language, so is R. It is available for free of cost and can be downloaded by any person on this planet, and they can start performing iterations and regressions over it regarding the models. SAS, we have two editions. One is University Edition, which is for free of cost for students. The only limitation of that particular model is that it holds up to just 1 billion data points as compared to 1 trillion on the main enterprise platform. The price of enterprise platform is $1 million per year. That's the subscription model they have. Plus, for big companies like Accenture, TCS, Infosys, HCL, Genpact, Cognizant, and many other firms which are currently using SaaS, for them this is like just peanuts and butters amount, because they know that their data and their business is way more bigger than what they're spending on that software. So this gives a bright picture to us that there are jobs for SaaS in Indian demographics as well, right? So SaaS attributes, it's a commercial software as I mentioned, and I have mentioned it's expensive, and I have also told you about the proc SQL part in the whole portion before. And I have also mentioned that how we can breach this commercial software's expensive title by using University Edition. So whatsoever I will be performing right now in front of you, it will be on University Edition. There is no difference in the libraries and structures of anything, but the only thing is I cannot put in data which is more than one, having more than 1 billion data points, right? Regarding job scenarios, the Western market is almost on the verge of having the saturation in next 3 years, and in the Indian market, where people still want to use SaaS because big companies hire Indians because we come at a very lower cost as compared to counterparts of ours in the West. The market for us is opening, and it is just 1 year matured right now. For any product development life cycle, the market size maturation is almost 8 years. That means we still have 7 or maybe like 8 years we have for learning, earning, and growing in this field. Post that, we can always become consultants and make people learn about what exactly is growing around with us in the space of our industry, right? So jobs in SaaS with industry domain, we have almost out of 200, 181 jobs in analytics out of 200, 179 in IT software, 77 out of 200 in BPO segment, 69 on like finance and healthcare. We have 59. So healthcare industry over here defines not the usage of SaaS in that industry, but number of requirements of people doing other jobs apart from SaaS development in the company. This is totally with respect to SaaS. Like, and I also mentioned that analytics is heavily dependent on SaaS, and IT software also includes SQL. That is why the percentile ratio is pretty high with respect to SaaS requirements. The brands you'll be working with once you complete are mentioned over here: Schindler, Asia, Pelp, Microsoft, Oracle, CSR, FedEx, SAP, Tyco, Panasonic, Hitachi, Mitsubishi. There are other companies in the market which are like TCS, Accenture, Infosys, Cognizant, Genpact, Autoportal, and 1MG, and many other big startups which are also hiring for these purposes. The average salary which starts from like is 4.5, and it goes up to 7.5 for a person who is having nil knowledge in SaaS but is having basics of understanding of what exactly is SaaS. In the span of 1.5 or 2 years, or max to max 3 years, you can achieve a package of at least 7.5 lakh rupees per annum, and post that you can steadily grow that at a rate of 30% per annum minimum. And if you look for a job switch, so post job switch and the taken in hand taken of the previous increment, you can easily get up to 47 to 50% in growth on per annum basis, right? So the job hierarchy in analytics is something like this: a person starts off with the DA, then BA, then SIA, then SIC, then BID, then DE, then BIA, then DA, BIM, and then comes DS. Above DS is SaaS developer, which is really in hot demand. And you can see the national average salary is given by Glassdoor, so you can get it verified from any other sources via Glassdoor or any other platforms, right? So the question answer sections will be right over here. I'll be performing a small query session in front of you of SAS, right? So this is how exactly the SAS looks, because this is the University Edition. It is hosted onto my platform, and every data point which is being stored is going on cloud. Post, I push it from my local host till the main server where I have hosted. So once you come in person, I'll tell you how exactly the hosting and everything is done. Now before we start off, I have written a predefined set of line of codes for you. By line I'll explain you. Line 1 and line 9 has hash and star, then star and hash. This means any data which has been input between these two operators will go as comment. Any comment in any code means that these set of lines, that is for the example over here from line 1 to 9, will not be read by the compiler while executing or running the code, right? So now we'll directly jump to line 9, right? And then we'll go to line 1. As I mentioned, line 9 is nothing, it's just another comment ending section. Line 8, it's empty, right? Line 7 means run. Run means whatever command I have written over anything, over this command, it has to run it, right? That means it has to compile and then execute it. The run command is executed by the first option which is mentioned over here below the word code, the running man kind of section structure. This helps in executing the run command. Data lines. Data line means whatever kind of input we have, we input that data in the segment of data lines. As you can see from below line number 15, I have data lines and the data points which I have inserted over here. Now comes labels. Label means these are unique identifiers I am having for selected queries I am inputting. I will explain you in the example while doing everything. Right, now let's go to new variable. If we want to create any new variable, we can create any variable as an input in any form, right? Everything which I'm speaking right now, I will explain you in the example itself. Input is the variable inputs which we define at the data set. In terms of Excel, you can consider var1, var2, var3 as the column headers of any Excel file. So that is a strong correlation which you can find between input var of SAS with the column header of Excel. Data, then comes data underscore set underscore name. That means data and then the file from which we are calling the particular data points, or that means where the data points and the data values are stored, or maybe we are creating a temporary data file. So these are three different aspects of certain things. Now let's come to point 11, right? So data temp, as I mentioned, this is a temporary file or a temporary data portal I have created to store my data. Input, that's the term which I use to input data. ID, and then we have a dollar sign against it, right? The dollar sign post any input variable means that this ID can have either integer or character values, right? If I don't put a dollar sign, it will only take integer values. Now comes name. As you all know, name is always character, that is why we have put a dollar sign against it. And then comes salary, it's all space, there is no problem of indentation as the libraries are pretty well defined. So if you put space, if you press tab, it will work in the same way, right? It hardly makes any difference. Now comes salary. As I don't have a dollar sign after salary, that means it is an integer or maybe a decimal point. Post that we have department. We have department as IT, operations, HR, finance. So that is why we have put the dollar sign against it. Now let's put it take as an example that I want a set of those people who are very well performing in their own departments. I as a boss, or maybe you as a boss, are willing to give them 25% commission out of the whole salary. So we have put a small mathematical function over here, that COMM, that's a new variable which we have created, is equal to salary into 0.25, that's 25% of the salary. Now we have to define com and the ID, because ID in the data lines part over here we have mentioned it as 1 2 3 4, right? Now maybe in the near future, when I or my team or your team grows, we'll be having multiple people, and holding 1 2 3 as in employee ID will not be a decent looking approach. So we can have, let's say, AB1, AB2, AB3, right? and your company's name is abconsulting.com. Let's put it in this way, right? So we have put labels against ID, that is employee ID, and COMM means commission, which helps the system to define that what does com mean. The system does not understand commission, but for our reference purpose and for the person who's looking the output, for them we are writing these labels. Now comes the data lines. As I mentioned earlier, in our post writing data lines and a semicolon, we input the data. Now let's see. ID is 1, name is Rick, salary is 623.3, department is IT. Similarly, ID is 2, name is Dan, salary is 515.2, department is operations, and so on till point number 8. Right. Now what happens in SAS? SAS does not understand any other language except a dollar language. Dollar is also for the currency purpose only. SAS does not take any currency except dollar because it is first of all created in US, plus US dollars is considered as a universal currency which can be bartered in any country. Post inputting that data, we have a semicolon which stops us from writing any more details, and that gives us a signal to system that there is no data point inside the data line segment post this semicolon. Now we have a command run over here. We can run this command from here, but we need to define that what we need to run. So we write one statement: proc print data is equal to temp. Proc is a command that is equivalent to select in SQL. Print is a normal printing command, and from where we have to print, that is data. The data will be pulled from temp, that is the data temp file which I have created on line number 11. Now let's run this program, and I will also include the comment section. First I'll show you including the comment, and then I'll show you without including the comment. See, we have ID, name, salary, department, and the commission, that is 25% of the gross salary which we have offered to these employees. Right, let's go back to the code and just delete these set of comments. Now we have a simple input, right? Let's run this. Have a look of the result again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. This OBS is the observation, which is a systematically defined output by SAS. So after every query you run, the results have this observation. So we will not consider this particular column into our data point consideration bracket. Our observation starts from ID, that is the first input we have given. Now let's come back to the main side. Over here we have the same data set without the comments. Let's run it. The output is same. You can go back in the video and you can compare the output. There is no difference. Exact 100% accuracy in the in the results. That means, which proves the particular fact that comments play no role in this particular output. Now let's take another example. In the libraries section of our SAS University edition, we have a dataset named as cars. As I am from the automobile industry, so it will be very easier for me to explain you certain things about cars, right? So let's write a small line of code over here, or I will rather explain you from here itself. We have certain set of cars, right? The cars are made of Acura, Audi, BMW, Chevrolet, Cadillac, and Chrysler, right? We have models, we have types, we have origin, we have drive terrain, we have maximum retail price, we have invoiced price, that means the price at which the company is willing to sell, and the price at which the company sold the car to customers. The engine size, it's 6000 cc car, that's a pretty big car. Which car is this? That's Chevrolet, nice. The cylinders, 8 number of cylinders it has, horsepower is this much, city mileage is 13, and highway mileage is 17. The weight of the car is almost 5000 kgs, but in the data point segment it will always consider 4804 at, as we believe in accuracy from SAS. the wheelbase is 144 and the length is 238. So the units are not defined over here, but we have the data points. So this is a small data. Now a person comes to me with this data and says that, Mr. Puneet, I want to create a car, I want to manufacture a car. Tell me what is the best possible way that you could present me some data and help me in defining that should I go for manufacturing of sedan, hatchback, wagon cars, or maybe SUVs, and also tell me that which geographical location I want to target and what type of car should I have. The engine should be in front or back, it should be 2 by 2 or 4 by 4, what kind of thing, and what is the average price which we can offer to customers so that I start selling those cars immediately post production. I was like, okay, so if you go in Excel, you have this big data set, you start creating charts, box plots, scatter plots, try to understand, find best fit line variance, covariance analysis, and then regression, then chi-square methods, and best fit line propagation, residual and permanent values. These are the certain objectives you do in Excel and R as well. But in SAS, what we have is just one small line of code. Prerequisite to this is you need to understand that what exactly is the data speaking, and you need to create a hypothesis. Now to start off with a data set which is already inside my SAS system, I have to start with proc SQL, right? That's the starting point of any data point which is starting off in SQL. Now, as you know that in whenever our managers or any senior person or maybe any client of ours provides us a file, we never manipulate with the original file. We create a sub file or a replicated file of it. Similarly, I am creating a replicated file of the file cars, right? I have created a table over here, create table cars1 as select invoice, horsepower, length, and weight from sashelp.cars. Sashelp is the location or the maybe the folder of my file, and cars is the name of my file. We put dot in between, which helps us in defining that what which one is folder and which one is cars. Now I want to compare my whole hypothesis between just two models, that is Audi and BMW. That is why I have written where make in Audi, comma BMW run, and the thing which you guys take in Excel maybe like 15-20 days to run and reiterate the whole process and then find out regression. I used just three lines of code: proc reg data, data from where cars one, that's a temporary table I have created, and I have mentioned that the model is or dependent on my horsepower and horsepower is dependent on my weight. That's the hypothesis I have used. Let's run this thing and you'll be amazed to see the output. The total observation which the regression module has read from this particular file for Audi and BMW is 39. That's a decent number. It has filtered out everything. It has given me analysis of variance, that is the ANOVA test as well, right? And it gives me certain set of results that my t value is minus 1.23, which is not at all good at the moment as per my hypothesis, right? And it also gives me the regression procedure and the modeling dependency of my variable on which is equivalent to the horsepower part I have taken. It shows me the predicted and the actual value of my hypothesis. It shows me that the total number of observations is 39. I have considered two parameters. The error difference is of 37 data points. My mean square estimate is somewhere about 2700, right? My r square is 0.36, which is not decent as per my calculations. So I created this data set, and that was one hypothesis that I have done, but the main intention is to show you the power of SAS. Though my result is not correct because I can see over here my r square is not right, but this doesn't mean that the system is giving me wrong output. To find this kind of output, it will take you days or maybe 1 month or maybe 2 months to do on Excel and find out and plot these things, which is going to be a big headache for you. In SAS, it has been done in seconds. And as it just took me seconds to compile this data, so it's going to take me just couple of more minutes to reiterate my whole hypothesis and create a better model in SAS. I also mentioned the best fit line propagation over here and the chi-square methodology. So we have the chi-square value mean as varying from -50 till 0 and from 0 till 50, and we have plotted over here, and we have somewhere about 5 points as outliers. These 5 points may be the category of the car, which is either wagons or maybe hatchbacks or maybe sedans or maybe SUVs. Right. So post looking at that data again, we can define what exactly is happening. My hypothesis model accuracy is measured from this particular tab. Right, you can see that it is varying from -100 till 200, and my propagation line is very near to my actual hypothesis line. That means the data points which I have selected for my this hypothesis is correct, which surely proves that the overall hypothesis which I have assumed is not correct to give me a business driven solution. Right, and if I give out this result in Excel post taking 1.5 or 2 months, either my boss will be very angry or I have to do anything something quickly. Over here in SAS, I can do it in seconds and reiterate the whole process quickly. So this is the power of SAS. To know more, get in contact with Tulip Technologies, and I would love to have query sessions with you further once we meet in person. Thank you for watching this video.